So, hey guys, I am so thankful to have this opportunity to speak to you. It's a little different. I've done worship for almost a year, but this is just a really big blessing, and I hope that you are impacted by this as much as it has impacted me over the last year. I think our culture has this obsession with safety. I mean, I could understand why. I mean, who doesn't like being safe? But I mean, it does get a little bit obsessive. We don't want to risk anything. If we think it won't turn out right, we tend to just shy away from it and put it in the corner. We don't want to try. But this may seem external, but it's actually internal too. And if we let this obsessive character trait of safety be rooted into our hearts, then it can be really a bad thing to where we never want to step out on the waves where God's calling us. If you want to turn in your Bibles or your phones, I'm going to be reading from Matthew 14:29 to 31. It says, "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You have little faith," he said. "Why do you doubt?" I think a lot of times we don't give Peter as much credit. We often say, he had little faith. He almost sank, and he had to get Jesus to help him. But, there were a bunch of disciples left in the boat, and he was the one who actually got out and started trying to walk on the waves. There are 3 steps in leaving the boat that I think we can all talk about. The first one is decision time. When you feel like God's giving you that nudge to, hey, you need to do something. I know it's going to be hard, but I'm going to be walking with you each step of the way. You have to make a choice. You either say, you know what, I don't think that's for me, God, or, you know what, I'm willing to take this step. I think we as human beings, as flawed as we are, we make 2 big excuses. Number 1, I'm not qualified for this. I don't think I have the right tools. I don't think I'm equipped enough. And I don't think I have the talents it takes to do this task. But that's a huge lie. Because if God's calling you to do it, He doesn't care what's inside of you right now, because if He called you to do it, He's going to give you the tools you need to do it. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Another huge excuse we make is that we fear the unknown. If we don't know how it's going to turn out, we tend to shy away from it. We're like, I can't see the future, and I hate to fail, so I'm just not going to try it. If I don't try it, nobody will know that I was even thinking about it, and then people won't know that I failed. But we don't have to be afraid to entrust our unknown future to a known God. When we decide to take this step out of the boat, we have to leave several things in the boat. I think it's a whole lot easier when you try to step out of the boat, out of your comfort zone, to have people inside the boat with you saying, you know what, that is crazy. I know, I love Terry's sermons. I feel like in every sermon he has this underlying theme every time of, you know what, it may sound awkward. It's going to be crazy. You might get embarrassed. But you know what, it's God calling you to do something. So when you take this first step out of the boat, it may seem awkward. There's going to be people telling you, hey, you know what, that's a little bit crazy. I would think twice before you do that. Or you'll have things you're going to have to leave behind. Like, I'm going to have to leave this fear behind in the boat. I can't walk out on the waves with it. It's not going to work. The second big point in leaving the boat is getting out of the boat looks different for different people. We have introverts and extroverts. I think that our culture today idolizes extroverts a lot. Who would agree? I know. Extroverts, they're loud and outgoing, and they don't really fear big crowds. They love talking a lot. They're energetic. It's just, that is the person to be as an extrovert. But we don't see introverts have amazing qualities too. And when God calls people out of the boat, it's not always being the loud person on stage. Extroverts may be called to be quiet, to listen to people, to listen to God and to others, not just with your ears, but not just hearing, but listening with your mind and your heart. Introverts may be called to be the one on stage. My best friend, Joy Eckhoff, she came a lot last year. I brought her. And she is an extremely introverted person. But a few years ago, she felt God calling her to lead a youth conference. And at first she was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, what? That's totally way out of my comfort zone. I'm not a good speaker. It's not for me. But after a few years, this tug on her heart would not go away, and she knew she could not be complete without doing this and obeying God. So she left her comfort zone, and she started planning this youth convents, as we called it. And it was a leadership conference for teens to teach how each teenager and each person has this call to greatness. And it ended up being an amazing conference, and a lot of people were blessed and impacted by it. Another final thing that God uses is our weaknesses to reveal himself as strong as we step out of the boat. My friend, Elise Hall, she was 20 years old when her dad came home one day and said, hey, so this is kind of interesting, but I feel like God's telling me that somebody in our house is going to run for representative of the state of Oklahoma, but it's not going to be me. And she's 20 years old, thinking, what on earth? You've got to be kidding me. That's not for me. I have no idea why you heard that, but okay. But she began feeling this call continually. And so she stepped out of her comfort zone. It may have been crazy. I mean, just imagine, this is a 20-year-old girl, female girl, trying to run for representative, and most of the people in the House of Representatives in Oklahoma are probably her dad's age. This is a huge deal. So she ran. She worked harder than probably anybody who has ever tried to campaign for this. And she was elected, which makes her, she was elected at 21 years old. It makes her the youngest representative ever elected in the United States. So God gives us gifts that we will use for our mission. But what we think may be our weakness, he uses to reveal himself strong. One gift he can give us is potential. But the thing about potential isn't really anything unless you do something with it. So God can give you boatloads of potential, but if you leave it sitting there, then it's just wasted space. Representative Elise Hall said, not taking action is inaction. So while you may be sitting over there in the corner of the boat thinking, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong, your problem maybe is that you're not doing anything. When we step out of the boat, it will be something we can't do on our own. Our mission is going to be God-sized. We cannot even attempt to do it without him. When we believe in God enough, sometimes we believe in God enough that he could be the one out on the waves. Sure, yeah, I believe God is powerful. He's raised people from the dead, and he has all kinds of power to do things like that. So he can be out there walking on the waves. But I don't necessarily trust him enough to help me walk on the waves. And I think that's the mistake a lot of us make in our thinking. So first we have decision time. You have to make the choice to get out of the boat and obey his call. We have to realize that we can't compare the calling that God has given us to other people because it looks different for your personality. It's going to be challenging to you. And God uses our weaknesses to reveal himself as strong. I'll tell you one story in my life. Recently, as far back as I can remember, I have wanted to play basketball for a Division I school, Lipscomb University, for forever. But recently I'm thinking, okay, I'm not really qualified for this. If God wanted to make this easy, he would have made me 6'5". But he didn't. So obviously this is going to be something that he's wanting me to work for. And recently I had been kind of shying away from it, kind of taking a step back into the boat, backing away from it like, if it was going to be easier, I might be willing to step out of the boat, but that's just it. Stepping out of the boat isn't easy. That's why you have to have God's complete help with this. So, about 10 days ago, we were at the campus dropping off my older sister, Tiana, and we were walking through Allen Arena, and my mom, she actually told me today she felt like God was calling her to walk into the coach's office. She's like, hey, look, there it is. Want to go talk to the coaches? And I was like, not really. It was this super awkward sensation, like I was saying. When God's calling you to do something, it sounds crazy and awkward and really, it could be embarrassing at first. So we walk in, and everything went great. My sister actually ended up getting a job. She ended up being the manager of the women's basketball team, which was a huge praise. And it helped me to see how God was teaching me to step outside of my comfort zone and do something hard. because I feel like I tend to shy away from something if it's going to be the least bit difficult. Like, if it's going to be easy, then I think I can tackle it. But if this is going to take a lot of hard work and me putting into it a ton and not really knowing how it's going to turn out, then I think I'll just pass on that. But for this year especially, it's going to take a lot more than physical training. It's going to take mental training, learning to not give up, learning to not be put down by people who are bigger than me. I mean, I've looked at their roster. It's not going to be an easy shot. But and honestly, I don't even know. If I don't play for them, it's fine. I know that God's going to use this journey to show me something extremely awesome about himself and teach me a lot of things about myself too, because I don't even know everything about myself. But my prayer is that he'll be showing me something about how to get out of the boat and how to actually try something hard. The boat is your comfort zone. You can choose to stay in the boat, but Jesus is out on the waves. I'm going to pray for you guys. God, I thank you right now for each person in this room, God, that you would speak to their hearts tonight, and that something I said would just strike them in a way that you would be able to use that to speak to them and to mold their character into what you can use it to for your kingdom. I pray that you would keep your angels over us, Lord, as we travel back home, and that you would help us to see you in a completely new way, and that you would speak to us and move us to step out of the boat, step out of our comfort zone, and do something hard for you. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
All right. Tommi, thanks so much for encouraging us in a big way. Hey, we're done with our worship time tonight. I want to remind you that if you feel called at all to share one of our devotion messages, please let me know. And as you know, it can be whatever. It can be 2 minutes, it can be 10 minutes, just whatever's on your heart. But let me know about that, and then we'll plan to see you guys this Sunday, if not before. All right? So thanks for being here. See you soon. Maybe at the carpet ball table. Maybe at the snack bar.